I'm going on a little adventure here. Kind of show you. Started with the rear, because even though the rear is easy to put or take off, actually probably the worst to put on. So here we got the bag. Let me turn on this light. Got the shock in. Shock's the easy part. Don't worry about getting it in first. Just make sure you got it in the bottom and just in this location whenever you're pumping it up. The bolt right here has to come off. I ended up switching them on the install because this was a head and I had to actually move, like wedge my exhaust out of the way to get the bolt out because it's super long. Yeah, so it just goes through there. Once you have that, the old spring comes out, so make sure you have a jack or a spring compressor on that just to make sure that spring doesn't shoot out. I don't have the old parts with me because they're in the shed. Other than that, the shock bolt comes out and that bolt comes out and this thing lowers. Yeah, it's not that hard to put and like fit this in wise, but as far as the top part, so this was the worst thing in the world. Basically it bolts to the top of the bag, but you have to have this secured into the car. So I'm going to show you how they want you to do this on this crazy thing. I literally just spent probably 3 hours on that one side. And I'm going to show you why. Because not only is it already a tight fit with every single thing in the way, you have this little ditty right here. You have this is the cap. There is nothing inside there. This cap is basically welded onto that frame. There's no other entrance. This is basically it. So what you do is you basically put this in and you have that. The worst part is it goes all the way in and the bolt they give you is a little bitty thing. So I think the easiest way to get past that, if you really didn't want to screw around with it too much, would just be go to Lowe's and get a longer bolt. The other side, I was getting so frustrated I almost tried to drill through the side here so I could stick a screwdriver and hold this down, because like once you started threading it, it would just go up and it would never catch. Let's see. Other than that, the arms already got the locations for the bottom support, so those just go in. This was the hard part on the bottom here, was because this one goes in and you have to get the nut underneath, but there's like nothing on the bottom that you can reach to get to that, so you basically just have to be imaginative. I stuck some glue on my finger and stuck the nut on there so it wouldn't fall off, and then I got it all the way up in the wedge, held it there, and then put the bolt in. Let's see what other pain in the ass parts is there. Oh yeah, basically when this starts coming up, the bag is, the top is like towards you, so you have to basically like press the top part of the bag back in to get the bolts there. So that's what I found the easiest way to do it was to basically, and don't forget these stupid caps, because I basically got a quarter of the way without realizing that those have to go like right there. Oh, fucking kidding me. And then yeah, I took the wheel well out of here. I think I'm basically going to run the fronts through to here, and then I got the back aimed right here. I'm gonna run like right behind here next to the fuel cooler, and then there's this grommet that goes inside. I'm just gonna probably snake it through there, drill a little part in that rubber grommet, and then that goes inside. That goes right there. Shock's right here, so they had the little damper thing you can adjust here. Pretty easy. Everything else kind of moves out of the way. It's just really big. This thing had like 3 clips, some screws. For me, I'm gonna end up maybe like finding a piece of wood and mounting it right there. in the back so I can keep my spare tire, because a lot of people start putting it in their spare tire well, but I like to keep my spare tire, so I'm just going to put it in the back. And then the only thing I was thinking of is if there was some kind of dead battery issue and you had to get this little ditty right here, I'm thinking of just tying something to the end here, the end right there, and then kind of like having place right here, so then if I do need to go in, all that stuff that's bolted down right there in the way will not like make me not be able to reach it. I also have like one of those little long grabber handles, so I'm thinking of just doing that, just throwing that in the back here, and then if I ever had to go into the back, because if you had a dead battery before, you realize that you have to go through the front door with the key, then you have to open the back door, open the back seat, and crawl all the way back here, hit this little latch right here, open the trunk, and then you can get to the battery. But that was only because I had it disconnected. Usually if you have it connected, you're able to just put a jumper box on the front engine bay location. You don't have to do all that stuff. Oh, I scratched myself. I don't know where that came from. But yeah, so my stuff came in, and I decided to do the rear because for some reason I thought that it was going to be easy. But just you really need small hands, basically what I'm saying. The front's basically all cleared out. What sucks for this was you have to take the ball joint out, of course, and I'm pretty sure I kind of blew it a little bit because it got all greased up and everything right there. The only thing I can tell you basically is not to take anything else off. It will come off. On the other side, I ended up having to take this bracket off to get out of the way, and then I took that sensor that's right in the hub. I took those out because I just did not want to have those messed up at all. So those are kind of pain too already because they just like rusted in there. So you just gotta wiggle it out and it'll come out eventually. For this, the easiest way I found to do the front was to just take the caliper off. You don't have to take the actual support bracket off. You just have to take the two bolts that hold the caliper, and then it gives you space for the lower control arm right here. And then you basically just whack right here. That's the only place you need to hit. It will come off. The other side, I ended up doing it perfectly. I cleared this area, hit it with a sledgehammer, and it took probably 7 or 8 hits, and then it just loosened up. Because if you try one of those forks, that's what that happens. And then if you want to try one of those the C-clamp claws, be my guest to try, but there's basically absolutely no spacing here. This is the first time I was working with a lower control arm that's multi-piece, so like the front lower control arm is one, and then the rear lower control arm is over there, and the rear one is the only one you have to actually take out. That's where the shock mounts. And at first I thought I was gonna have to take the front off, so I ended up trying to take this one off, and of course like something hit here when I was taking it off, so now that's freaking misthreaded, so I'm gonna have to find a way to fix those threads. But yeah, so basically the other day I started with just taking everything out. So this is just put on here so it doesn't fall off, but I mean it's basically off. And then of course you have that one toe link, or not toe, that is a sway bar link that goes to the shock. Take that off, and you just pull this out, and then the shock just slides between the ball joint and that piece right there. But yeah, so that's going to be the hardest part basically, is the fact that you have to secure the airbag to both this cradle and the body, and the body has no other way, so they just decided to make this little thing. Luckily when I did it, I think there's like an angel or something watching, because basically once I put that metal piece I turned it maybe 3 or 4 times, and I was kind of just guessing, and I was just gonna like start doing something else, and I like went to pull the bracket off, and it was already on there. So I was just saying, okay, I guess it's on there. And then once you started turning the bolt, it would like, this part wouldn't actually turn anymore. So that was good, but it starts getting pretty hectic once you putting that top bracket on. Because once you put it, like I would do this and then put that bracket on first, and then just have it sitting there, and then secure the bottom plates in the airbag, and then raise this up, and then mount the top bracket to the top of the airbag. The only thing with that is, let's see if I can show you. I'm going to show you just how close this is. So I was using just one of the ratcheting wrenches, because there is like no space. Like you have this, you have the subframe, just no space to get a wrench except to like right here, and then you're just twisting a little bit. That's this one bolt. There are 2 other bolts in there. I can't even reach in there. There you go. So then this wrench will not go on any of those 2 other bolts because they're right next to each other. Let's see if I can show you. Yeah, like this is the other side. That's that bolt. And then this other bolt goes through there and goes up top here. And then that's the one that secures in that little anchor and the top piece. But yeah, once you get this piece on there, it's a little bit better. But I just kept having issues. Like I put that on the airbag first, and I had the airbag fitting, and then I was gonna run it towards the back, and then I started taking the fender well out and realizing I wanted to go up front here. So then I just moved it again, but you can't move that fitting unless you take that bracket back off. And then at one point I tried to just have the top bracket part first, but then I couldn't get the bottom one fitted right because you have to have that nut inside that cradle. So it was really just kind of a pain, not gonna lie. I mean, you can see just how tight fitting everything is. That's the drive shaft right here, and then an upper arm, there's a sway bar right here, there's this bar, exhaust is already right here. Oh yeah, but I didn't really have to do anything rotor wise. And then like I said, this bolt was the other way when I first started on the removal. I don't know if this is how the stock exhaust goes or if this is just mine, because I've had exhaust work done.